The boardroom was too quiet, the kind of silence that follows a storm you never saw coming. I stood there, staring at the massive conference table where moments earlier, the CEO, Mr. Carver, had slammed his fist hard enough to rattle the water glasses. "You have 1 minute to clean up," he shouted, his voice echoing across the room full of executives, interns, and people who suddenly found the floor very interesting. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. He was furious because a presentation slide had gone wrong. One graph, out of hundreds, had failed to load properly during the quarterly review. But everyone knew it wasn't really about the slide. It was about power. About showing who controlled the air we breathed in that room. "Clean out your desk," he barked again, "and security will escort you out. You're done here." I could hear the whisper ripple through the crowd. My coworkers avoided my eyes, afraid of being next in his line of fire. I felt heat crawl up my neck, not from shame but from clarity. I'd given this company 6 years of my life, late nights, weekends, sacrificed birthdays, and missed anniversaries, all for a man who treated people like replaceable parts. And now, in front of everyone, I was being discarded like a broken cog. I looked at him, still red-faced behind the polished table, and for the first time, I didn't see power. I saw fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being small in front of people he ruled through intimidation. I took a breath and said calmly, "Before I go, I just want to say one thing." The entire room froze. Carver smirked. "You have 30 seconds. I nodded. "That's all I'll need." I turned slightly, facing the rest of the team. "I've spent 6 years here," I began, "and in that time, I've watched brilliant people walk through those doors full of hope and walk out crushed. I've seen ideas stolen, credit misplaced, and fear rewarded as leadership." The silence grew heavier. Carver's smirk faded. "Watch your words, son," he said coldly. I smiled faintly. "That's the problem, sir. We've all been watching our words for too long." A few people shifted uncomfortably, others looked up, eyes wide. "This company has the talent to change industries," I continued, "but it won't, because it's led by someone who confuses loyalty with obedience." I could hear my own heartbeat, steady and sure. "You say you want results, but you fire people who tell you the truth. You don't want innovation, you want mirrors that tell you you're right." Carver stood, face pale now. "Enough," he snapped. "Security." I raised my hand slightly. "It's fine. I'm done." I picked up my notebook and phone, then looked at him one last time. "You said I had 1 minute to clean up," I said evenly. "Consider this my cleanup of conscience." And with that, I walked toward the door. But before I reached it, I paused, turned back, and added, "You know, in 5 years, this company will lose its best people, not because of failure, but because of fear. And when that happens, remember this moment." No one breathed. I opened the door and left. The elevator ride down was strangely quiet, peaceful even. When the doors opened into the lobby, I expected to feel regret, but instead, I felt light, free in a way I hadn't in years. Outside, the city was waking up, cars rushing by, people chasing deadlines. My phone buzzed with messages, coworkers sending texts that read, "That was brave, you said what we couldn't, respect." I smiled and turned the phone off. That evening, I updated my resume, not because I needed to prove anything to anyone, but because I was finally ready to build something that mattered. 2 weeks later, one of my former teammates, Mara, called me. "You won't believe this," she said. "Half the marketing team just quit. After you left, everyone started talking. People are standing up to him. It's chaos, but the good kind." I laughed softly. Maybe that's what it takes. One person willing to lose something to remind everyone else they deserve better. A few months later, I launched my own consulting firm. Small at first. 3 people working out of a rented workspace with cheap coffee and big dreams. But we did things differently. No yelling. No fear. Just respect and collaboration. Within a year, companies that once competed with us were calling to partner. One morning, an email landed in my inbox, from an unfamiliar address. Subject line, "Request for proposal." It was from Carver's company. My chest tightened as I read his message. "We're seeking external consultants for an internal restructuring project. I've heard good things about your firm. I stared at the screen for a long moment before replying, "Thank you for reaching out. Unfortunately, we're fully booked with clients who treat people like humans." Then I hit send. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. A few days later, a former colleague sent me a photo from the office. A new CEO had been appointed. Carver had stepped down for personal reasons. The caption read, "Your last words aged well." I smiled, folded my laptop, and walked to the window of my new office, a place filled with laughter, honesty, and light. Getting fired had been the best thing that ever happened to me. Because sometimes, losing your place in someone else's empire is exactly how you start building your own.